Hello and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today we're going to the obscure Doctor Who DVD shelf and pulling out this, the Daemons of Devil's End, a 3-disc set comprising of the spin-off The White Witch of Devil's End, disc 2 being Return to Devil's End, where we see John Pertwee and his gang go around all the locations used within filming the Daemons, and disc 3 being convention footage filmed in Auburn. So without further ado, let's begin. So here is the cover itself. So we've got from the world of BBC TV's Doctor Who, Olive Hawthorne there. We've got Azal, the Third Doctor, some lightning and some bats. The logo, what the set includes, 12, 3-disc set. Then the side there, which is all very nice. Then on the back we have a picture from the White Witch itself. Then we have a bio on it, so do feel free to pause if you want to know more about that. And then a bio on the Return to Devil's End and what else this set includes. And the runtime being 5 hours and 8 minutes. So when you open up this release, you have this, the discs there, but we'll talk about the discs in a minute. The case, I will say, if you've got one of the Doctor Years DVDs, then you'll know that the cases do seem very flimsy and don't seem like your standard traditional Doctor Who DVD case. It does seem like a case you'll find in Poundland. And moving on to the discs, I do have a problem with this. Not the discs themselves with the artwork, it's just the way they've presented them with the whole stacking 3 discs on top of each other. And yeah, when you could have a disc there, and then a hinge piece there, and then that would have been sorted. But no, got to have them stacked together. So yeah, that's a little bit of an annoying thing for me. And there we have the discs there saying what is on each disc. Now if you order this from Galaxy 4, you do get this lovely art card from the White Witch itself with little montage of some stuff what happens within there. And it's signed by Olive Hawthorne herself, Damons Revisited, which is rather nice. So yeah, very nice little inclusion that from Galaxy 4. Just show you the back there, Galaxy 4, so if you want to get that yourself, you can. Disc 1 is the main spin-off feature with it focusing on Olive Hawthorne, so we get the main feature of this disc being the White Witch of Devil's End, which I'll talk about more in a minute, more in depth. Then we also get behind the scenes on the White Witch of Devil's End, and that's quite interesting because this project began life back in 2012. And it's only just recently finished filming in August 2017, so it's quite interesting to see how this project has developed over those years. We also get a little sort of behind the scenes on the writing process, which is very interesting to sort of see the writers talk about their stories and how they had to expand their story, because there is a novel of this and I think it does have bonus little short stories within it. So if you like what you see in this and you want to know more about the stories, will become more expanded in that. We also get a sort of a music video feature because the credits have this song played, and we get the sort of singer talking about how that song came to be and how that song fits the drama, the piece, and we also get the music video for that as well. So that's quite a nice little feature as well. So you do get quite a lot on disc 1. So disc 1's main featurette is the White Witch of Devil's End. So you might be wondering, what is that? It is basically a sort of spin-off featuring Olive Hawthorne, who I absolutely love. I thought she was a great character in the Daemons, and this essentially is a character piece for her. It's basically 6 short anthology stories, roughly each story is about 20 minutes each, which is quite nice little length. A little anthology release with sort of telling stories throughout Olive Hawthorne's life, so different sort of points within her life. So we get to see the origin of her character, of how she became the guardian of Devil's End, how she became the White Witch. So it's quite nice that. So yeah, it's basically, the best way I can describe it is Alan Bennett's Talking Heads. I think that's the best way I can describe it. It's Mrs. Hawthorne, in a different location with each story, and we do get little glimpses of that story from her point of view, because it is filmed, when we get onto sort of location bits, through her point of view. So we get to see, the story through her eyes. So it's very well done. So yeah, let's go on to the first story. Now before I actually go on to the little stories themselves, I just want to say Damons Revisited does such a wonderful job bringing these stories to life. She was 84 when she recorded this, and she just does a wonderful job because this was her first time using auto cue, and she just does a marvellous job. And I think that behind the scenes you really do get a sense of what a wonderful and charming and sweet person she is. So I just want to say she does a wonderful job, and that's the only real person I can talk about performance wise, really. So yeah, I just want to say I'm not going to go full review into this. I'm not going to go full in depth. I'm just going to give you my brief thoughts and summary on the story. So The first story is called Inheritance, and we see the origin of how Olive Hawthorne became the Guardian of Devil's End. And I will say that I believe that Damon Heyman had a dream, and this is what the story is based off, which is quite fascinating and quite nice. I did enjoy this story quite a lot, and how she became the Guardian. It's quite a nice, simple story. Expands on her family. Just a rather nice story, and it just sets up this drama piece rather well. On to the second story, Half-Light, where we see Olive Hawthorne have a little stint in love and becomes enchanted by this character called Victor, who only comes out at night, and you never see him in the day. So he's got this very supernatural vibe to him, and some of the stuff that happens to Victor within the story is quite gruesome, and his character past is certainly interesting to say the least. And this is quite a supernatural thing. That's the one thing I will say about this release. It does have this very supernatural vibe to it. So if you love supernatural, then you're probably going to enjoy this release especially. But yeah, by the end of this story, you do feel quite emotionally, your heartstrings are pulled, and it does pull on that emotional core, because you do feel sorry for Olive Hawthorne, because it's such a sad ending for her, and you do go, oh, just want to give Mrs. Hawthorne a hug, just go, there, it's going to be alright. But yeah, I think this is Damon Heyman's favourite of the bunch, because she just likes the whole emotional side to it. So yeah, really good, really like this story. Episode 3, I think, is called The Cat Who Walks Through Time. Yeah, this story very much plays with the themes of the first two stories, so it's a nice little continuation with that. And this is the first time Olive Hawthorne gets a challenge where she is confronted with some rather odd CGI creatures within it. But yeah, very good story, quite an unsettling theme with sort of children being taken. But yeah, it starts off quite a nice, fluffy, fun story, then sort of halfway through it does take quite a sinister turn to it. But yeah, very interesting story, and again, really enjoyable. Episode 4, Pop It. Now this is quite an interesting story because we see a new arrival in Devil's End. And this person is turning everyone against Olive Hawthorne, even her best friend who's about to get married, and Olive Hawthorne is her bridesmaid, or maid of honour. Not exactly sure which one it is, but it's one of those wedding things. Yes, and that involves a bit of a voodoo doll, and that's the Pop It. So this person's got a strand of Olive's best friend, and has wheedled her way into her life, making the voodoo woman, or that Olive's friend's best friend thing. I'm really confused right now. But that's basically it, and Olive Hawthorne has to destroy this doll, and everything is restored back in order. So yeah, that's episode 4. Really good story, really did enjoy that one. So yeah, Pop It. Now episode 5 is probably going to be the one that will interest Doctor Who fans the most. This is called Damons Rising, and this is basically the aftermath of the Daemons. So once the Doctor and unit have left, what happened to Devil's End? So this is very much covering that, and I really did like the idea of this. I think it was quite a good idea of sort of the dead people who died in the Daemons coming back to life, and these strange apparitions are happening all around the village, and it all links back to the church. So yeah, I'm not going to say any more about that because that's probably the most exciting one and the most interesting story of the set for me personally, and yeah, it's my favourite because it's the continuation of the Daemons. So yeah, fantastic story by Dave Stone, I think. So yeah, very good story that. Right, we've reached the final story. I think it's called Inheritance. Now this theme has been very much played over the past 5 episodes. Who will be the next Guardian of Devil's End? So that's kind of the mini arc of the series. So I do suggest watching all this in order to understand the sort of character arc, because Olive Hawthorne is very worried who is going to be the next Guardian. She can't just hand over the grimoire, the big book, what she's holding on the cover of the DVD, to some random person. It's got to be someone of Hawthorne blood. And that's essentially the story, talking about how she nearly come across an heir. Which is quite a good story, very interesting one, I will say. And the ending, I will say, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but I will say it's very odd, to say the least, but it links back to the first story, what we first see in the White Witch. So you could say things go full circle, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I would say it's a satisfying end to the White Witch series. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. A nice little way to end the series, I think. So yeah, very nice, did enjoy that. So what are my concluding thoughts on the White Witch of Devil's End? Personally, I enjoyed it for the most part. I think I'm quite surprised on how much I did enjoy it. I thought that I would be very iffy on this actual spin-off itself, and overall I did enjoy it for the most part. I think Damon Revisited does such a wonderful job, you know, bringing these 6 stories to life, and I think the stories themselves are brilliant, you know, looking at different aspects of Olive Hawthorne's life, giving a great character development and showing what a life she's had being the guardian of, you know, Devil's End. My problem comes down to the actual style choice and creative ideas this release has, in the sense that I do admire what they were trying to do with filming it in the point of view through Olive's eyes, but the end result for the actual point of view sort of style of it makes it look rather cheap and fan-made. I think if they stuck to the talking head format, it would have looked a lot better and would have had that less fan-made quality. So if we combine the stories and Damons Revisited's performance and your imagination, you'll get a wonderful result. And I think if they just stuck with the Alan Bennett talking head format, I think that would have been a much better route to go. Instead we get this rather odd sort of point of view thing with somebody just walking around with a camera pretending to be Olive Hawthorne, you know, looking through her eyes. Instead it just comes across rather cheap and just makes it feel very fan-made and just doesn't give it a nice little polished feeling to it, whereas I feel like if they stuck to the talking head theme, I think that it would just have a much more higher standard of actual storytelling done there. But I do admire what they were trying to do with the sense of point of view, just to give a bit more of a creative flair, but sadly that didn't work for me. So yeah, I think that it's great, so I'm going to give the White Witch of Devil's End a 7 out of 10. A good release. I think that the stories themselves are about 8 out of 10. I would give the stories 8 out of 10. It's just the creative choices within this release. I think the supporting characters, what we see in the points of view section, are poorly performed and poorly dubbed, because they try to match Olive Hawthorne's speech over that character, and it doesn't work to an extent. It just doesn't link up right. So yeah, I enjoyed the White Witch, so I'll give that a 7 out of 10. And the stories, I thought they were wonderful, and you know, Damons Revisited's performance is just magnificent. So I'm going to give the stories an 8, and the actual product itself a 7 out of 10.
Am I the Doctor?
Right there, on to disc 2, the reason why I bought this release, and that is for the documentary. Quite prolific in my eyes. I don't know if people consider it prolific, but for me it is quite a prolific thing, and that is Return to Devil's End. And this is the first time I have experienced this, so I've been very excited to finally see this, because the Daemons is one of my favourite stories of all time, so I'm very excited to give this one a go. So I can't exactly review a documentary, but I will say that this is a wonderful release. If you love the Daemons, then you will love this. If you love behind the scenes and you love all things the Third Doctor era, then you're just going to love this, because it's just such a wonderful sort of documentary looking at the making of the Daemons, where we see John Pertwee, Nicholas Courtney, Richard Franklin, John Levine and Christopher Barry, and a few locals who were involved filming the Daemons, going around all the different locations they used whilst filming, and just cracking jokes and just having a lot of fun with it. Just the intro for this sort of intro for the actual documentary itself just really sets the tone of this documentary, with it just being a lot of fun and giggles, because it's just really funny, because you just see like glimpses like, do you remember this? No, not at all. And it's just great. It's just great. Obviously it's just a wonderful thing just to see the Unit family and Christopher Barry just having a bit of banter between each other. And it's just worth just to see them cracking jokes and just telling stories about when Katie Manning lost her knickers at the Devil's Hump. Just stuff like that. If you want to know, then you definitely need to watch that. And just John Pertwee just laughing in hysterics about telling that story. It is just a wonderful documentary and just goes through everything in depth. So if you're a big lover of behind the scenes and sort of directing, then Christopher Barry's side will be very fascinating for you. And if you just want a few fun little yarns to be told and sort of know a bit more about the process when making the Daemons, then this has everything for you, because it's just a wonderful documentary and definitely worth it, really. Also on disc 2 we have some other little features as well. We also have the making of Return to Devil's End, so that's basically behind the scenes footage of filming it, so how they prepared the shots for the actual thing, and we get little stories throughout, and we get to see behind the scenes on the photo call, where we see John Pertwee and his crew doing a little dance, which is very nice. and just a nice little insight on how they made this documentary. So yeah, lovely little thumbs up. Another feature on the disc, we see a sort of little signing at the Who shop with Damons Revisited and the person who played the news reporter in the Daemons, and they're basically talking about their memories of the Daemons, and essentially that really, a little signing, and how fans have sort of taken the Daemons into their heart as a fan favourite story. So that's basically that, and also we get a little sort of special feature on the Morris dancers. So the Morris dancers' sort of history, and also what it was like for them to be filming Doctor Who. So we've reached the final disc, disc 3, the Damons Revisited. Now this is essentially convention footage shot around Auburn, because Auburn has had 2 conventions. We've had the one in 1996 and one is the 40th anniversary celebration. Now the one in 1996 I believe was on YouTube. I've seen bits of it on YouTube. Same with the 40th anniversary. I mean, you can still find it on YouTube, I believe, because I remember saving it about 5 years ago, liking it. So yeah, this wasn't really much of a new feature for me. It was just quite nice to have a physical version of it on DVD, where we saw bits of sort of a Q&A question with Terrence Dicks, Barry Letts, Damons Revisited, the person who played the news reporter, John Pertwee, John Levine, Richard Franklin and Nicholas Courtney. So basically the whole shebang of the Daemons, bar Katie Manning and Roger Delgado obviously. So that was quite nice, where we got to see the question, did John Pertwee prefer Bessie or the Whomobile? So it gave us a bit more of an insight on the actual scripting process of the Daemons and the location work, and I believe Christopher Barry was there as well. So yeah, a very enjoyable little feature that is, and I believe that was one of John Pertwee's last convention appearances, because this was filmed in April 1996, so about a month before he passed away, sadly. Then we get on to the 40th anniversary one, where we see Katie Manning finally joined. This was done by Phantom Films, Christopher Barry, Damons Revisited, John Levine. So yeah, quite a short amount of people within this, and Christopher Barry, if I haven't said, and I think Terrence Dicks was there. But again, you can find this on YouTube, bits and bobs of it. So yeah, bit of a disc, what is basically online, but it's just quite nice to have in physical form, and it's quite nice to see another Q&A with So what are my concluding thoughts on the Daemons of Devil's End? Personally, I love it. I think if you're a Third Doctor fan, you're going to love it, because you've got basically 2 discs worth of Pertwee goodness. If you're a fan of the Daemons, then you're going to love this, because it is a perfect tribute to that story, which fans have taken into their hearts, and it is easily one of the best stories Classic Who ever did. And that's a bold statement, but I personally agree with it. It's a fantastic story. I will say, if you're expecting this to be a really highly polished thing, then get that out your mind. This is very much a fan-made DVD production. It is done by Real Time Productions. If you've got any of their products, like the Mythmaker interviews, what they're doing, like the Doctor years, then you'll probably understand and know what their formats are like. So it's very much like that. Yes, but I certainly say it is worth the money, considering this is what, 15 quid, maybe even less now, and you're getting 3 discs worth of entertainment. You're getting the spin-off, The White Witch, you're getting Return to Devil's End, which is certainly worth buying just for this. I highly recommend that. And then you get the Daemons Revisited, and then you get some other little special features as well, which really just wrap this release up nicely. So personally, I would recommend it. The White Witch, I would say, is very good, like I said. The stories are brilliant. Damons Revisited is wonderful, but it's just the actual product itself, the finished product, does seem a bit fan-made. So like I said, don't expect this really polished product, because it's not. Just go in with an open mind, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Return to Devil's End is just a sheer joy to watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching that. It was just brightened up my day watching that, and Damons Revisited, though it's online, is a nice addition. So I would definitely give this release a big thumbs up if you're a Pertwee fan and you love everything all Daemons related, and you're all interested in behind the scenes, because this release has something for everyone. God, I'm babbling. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this review, and I'll see you in my next video, whatever that will be. So I'm off to have a pint with Captain Yates. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. So thank you very much, and goodbye.